Let's rock this joint!
All right, everybody. Welcome back to Informed Nostalgia. I know that we've been gone a little bit, but we're back and we have a big topic today.
Yeah, it's huge. Earth-shattering, groundbreaking.
I mean, technically, it's making a lot of money. Um,
No, it is. It is. But it's important to people. It's important to us, and
it is.
presumably, like, the 12 people who follow this channel, because
If they're still here.
we're working on it. We're working on it. But no, a new Scream movie came out, and Garrison and I originally met through our shared love of Scream. So it's important for us to break this down and talk about it and why it was exciting that this movie came out. Well, actually, firstly, when I first heard that it was coming out, I was incredibly skeptical, and I was like, "Oh, this is going to suck." And then I saw it, and now I definitely changed my tune after I got hyped up for it. It's not a great movie by any stretch, but I don't think it sucks at all. Um, how do you feel about it?
Um, well, I mean, I'm sure the world or whatever, the people that are watching this have probably seen it or know about it, but it is like it's the seventh installment. It is Sydney, Nev Campbell is back as Sydney and it's centered around Sydney.
Mhm.
I do think that this is a great, actually, I'm glad that we're covering it early. I'm glad that we're getting to because I think it really, the entire movie embodies everything that we talk about, right? Like it relies heavily on nostalgia, and and some of it I think is successful, and a lot of it I think is not successful. That being said, how I feel about the movie, like if you just, I had a really great time in theater seeing it. Like I
Yeah.
felt the same way. This is probably gonna make some people mad or be like, huh? I felt I was just as satisfied with it as I was with six. Like I think it was a really enjoyable experience. I can't even say that word right today. It was a great experience. Like I had a there was the theater was full like for Scream Six and Five, but I had anyway. We'll get to that. The people I went with had a great time. They hid their face. They were actually scared, which would like really helped the energy
That's
because it's
always
been a
fun.
long time since I've been. So I think the movie it worked, and I was really on a high afterwards. But I'm really glad that we're going to discuss it because I have a lot of problems with it as well, which like any super fan does, and I'm excited to actually get to talk about it with you here on like what we do.
Likewise. Likewise. So, this is interesting. It's interesting. I've got a lot of thoughts flying around in my head about it because it's fresh, and the movie is kind of a hot mess. No, it is a hot mess, but it is a lot of fun.
Can I suggest some? You want to take it? We'll take it from like the opening, and then we can go through the movie if you want to. So we
Yeah,
kind of stay
absolutely,
on a linear
absolutely.
vibe.
Yeah, absolutely, and we can also divide it up into discussing certain like categories
Like,
or
yeah,
like
yeah,
breakdowns. So sure. So first of all, I thought the opening was very good.
yes.
I thought that immediately it established itself. Kevin Williamson has grown leaps and bounds as a director since his last film and only film directing, which was Teaching Mrs. Tingle back in 1999. And he's not Wes Craven, but he's certainly better than Radio Silence, at least in terms of generating tension through lighting and spatial awareness. While there are going to be spoilers, by the way, if to those watching, I'll try to keep it as light as possible. Because I know not everyone has gotten to see it yet, but there will be some spoilers. So once again, it does involve a Ghostface double murder, and this time it won't be too much to spoil to reveal because if you've seen the trailer, you probably know it takes place in the house that the first film climaxed in, which has now been turned into an Airbnb for fans of the movie franchise within the movies to go and visit. And it's really well staged and shot. It's playful, it's fun. And then when the deaths do come, they're really shocking. There's actually a lot of good false jump scares at first too, because the tension is created really well, and it builds up to it. It's really Kevin Williamson did a great job with this. The gore is on the high side in this film, and that's not really my thing because I'm not a gore hound. I prefer to be scared and be on the edge of my seat than to like have gross out kills. And I'll talk about why. I'll talk about that more in depth later. But I thought the opening was real. But I thought that the opening was really good. I thought it was believable, and I thought it was skillfully done.
I very much like the opening. I love the opening. I've liked the opening of 5 and 6, and this one felt more like the first three, in my opinion. I liked a lot of the detail. I like that it took its time. I didn't feel like I was being rushed through the opening like I have. Like I feel like we've been rushed through the openings since 3. Like I feel like 3
Mm-hmm.
had a lot of urgency to it, and I felt like 4 there was so much in the opening like that I'm being rushed through it. Same thing with I think 5 took its time, but it still. Um, I'm going to contradict myself with other part of this movie, but I find that the opening of this one felt grander than they usually have been feeling. Um, I really liked the use of nostalgia with this one, not the house. The house did look exactly like it did in the first one to me. I like that it was like it had stabbing on it, but I also liked that the phone trivia, even though it was a part of the Airbnb, was not about movies that had been referenced really in Scream yet.
Right.
Like People Under the Stairs. I know
That
Friday the
was fun.
13th.
Yeah.
I thought that was really for the horror fans, and that's the kind of nostalgia I miss in Scream. So
Yeah.
getting that taste in the opening really get put me in the mood for what I was gonna see. And I really like from the preview, I didn't think I was gonna like those two characters, but I actually quite liked both of those characters.
Yeah, I did too.
I liked that they fought. I liked all of that. And it felt very meta in the way that Scream used to feel meta, which I know that Kevin Williamson, created it, but it like with
Mhm.
it is an actual Airbnb now, or it is at some times. Like I know they rent it out for you to stay in or go see. So
Mhm.
all of that is kind of like it feels like the real world maybe.
And they weddings are booked there too.
So interesting.
Yes. Yeah, they have weddings held there also. It's really funny. It's cool.
But I could really relate to that couple because I would be excited to go. Like, what I mean? Like, it puts us in the movie, and I think that's a great way to open the movie.
Hmm.
Um, it was fine if we burn it down, but that's the only part that I was like, okay, but it was fine. Like, we're
Hmm.
burning down the old. And I don't really like that metaphor at the beginning because that's all, we don't do that. Like, we
No,
really
we really don't, and the movie really doesn't either, and we'll talk about
yeah,
why.
if that would have been taken up, because like it's amping you up to be like, I was actually amped by that because I was like, oh, this is going to be somebody that's tied back to the beginning, maybe that's in the movie, and we're sick of it. And I kind of liked how it kind of hinted on that, but it didn't ever go there, which I know I'm
Yeah.
jumping. It's just, but I really liked it, but I do have a
Yes.
problem with the next scene. But well, I'll wait for you to talk about it.
Yeah. Yes. So right after that, it jumps into the movie proper, and what we get is pretty much an exact recreation of the first proper scene of the original Scream 2, which is a girl alone in her bedroom and a boy and her boyfriend sneaking in through the window, and it's literally the exact same dialogue as it is in the first film.
And they
Now,
know it is because it's from.
and they do, and the considering that the girl turns out to be the daughter of Sydney, the franchise's protagonist, the fact that they would literally reenact this scene um, is really it's like it's just really dumb and really it's for the audience. It's not for us, and it's for the audience. It's not for themselves, and it's just really weird. It's really weird. Um, it's very it's really really bizarre that they would do that. It feels so hokey. Um, they're straddling a line there between like catering to us, to pandering to us, and like just completely like jumping the shark with like non-believability, which is fun, which is unfortunate because this franchise, at least in terms of slasher franchises, has always tried to maintain more of a sense of realism than most. So, or at least believability. And they're they do sometimes they do it well, and sometimes they don't. In this film, I will say I am very, very impressed by a lot of the suspense and a lot of the tension. I think a lot of it's really good. Some of the humor, especially when it comes to nostalgia, doesn't always land. A lot of it, sometimes they aim for the fences, and sometimes it hits, sometimes it doesn't. This time it didn't. But what I will say, and this will be another positive, which I'll throw in genuinely early on, before I get to all the negative stuff, is that Sydney walks in, has a heart to heart with her daughter, played by Isabel May, who's gorgeous, by the way. And right from jump, at the from her first scene till the end, I feel like this is really Sydney in a way that I haven't seen since two. I feel like the Sydney that we got in 3, 4, and 5 was kind of like a substitute teacher. It didn't really feel like her to me in those films. It felt like, I mean, I know that I went along with it because they were all Scream films, but the way she was written and the way she was acted, no offense to Neve Campbell, there were moments when either the material was not as good, and actually it wasn't, and there were also times when Neve Campbell just seemed like bored and less interested. And maybe that was meant to convey that Sydney was just kind of like exhausted at certain points in her life, but maybe it's just that this is the Sydney that I grew up with, and maybe that makes me feel better. And also but it's also I recognize her, like I recognize her mannerisms, I recognize her dialogue, and I'll talk more why about that's important to me when we get to the killer's motive at the end of this discussion. But that does tie in, even though it seems like it has nothing to do with this. Um, yeah, I feel like this is actually Sydney. Um, and I feel like the Sydney I got in 3, 4, and 5 were like facsimiles of her, but it didn't feel like her to me. This felt like her to me, and that was a huge, huge comfort. So that's what I will say about that from the get go.
Well, I think a lot of that has to do with that. I see. I like Sydney in three. I think she feels like Sydney in three, but she's also not. She doesn't really carry that movie until the end, and that's the last movie that basically Sydney stars in, right? Like the fourth one, I don't find that she's the star of it. I find that she's just part of the what do you like the ensemble? Like it goes very
Mm-hmm.
ensemble for and. The push and pull there is not great in my opinion. So, and I think this one she very much is leading the film. And you can tell that she knows how to lead a film. I think that's what literally makes this movie successful is that you have the right people in the leads. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's why it feels like a Scream movie. That being said, this is something I thought on weekend because I kept wondering why I felt this way. I am going to overanalyze the movie while watching. And once she came on screen, because I had the ick feeling when they recreated that, and I was like, I hate this movie now. Like I literally was like, I'm going to hate this movie because if this is the tone. But then then Nev Campbell came in, and I was like, never mind. Like we are having fun with Sydney. It I loved. I did. He's so obnoxious sometimes, and I like it because I used to watch The Soup, and I've watched. But I
Joel
loved.
McHale.
It was great as her husband. He let her lead. He did not take attention away at
Yep.
all. And I listened to the people I went to the movie with, and a lot of people really loved him. Um, and a lot of people really were upset whenever he would be in a scene, like, and it felt like something was going to happen to him. Like the audience I was with in general got upset. I will say this. I can tell which scenes, I guess, that Kevin Williamson didn't write or didn't have. I could tell which scenes. This is terrible that Kevin Williamson was not interested in directing because
In writing, you mean?
or that he just didn't care to amplify the atmosphere because I could tell he loved Tatum the character
Mm-hmm.
because every scene she was in the set was dressed it looked interesting. Like when she was in the basement everything looked interesting. It wasn't bland like a Hallmark movie, and that's my biggest hate in of this movie, that it looks like a
It looks
Hallmark.
like a Hallmark film,
But not every scene. That's what makes it inconsistent
just with
because
like intestines flying everywhere. Right?
I mean, because a lot of I noticed this, like a lot of the other kids were, and even Sydney, which I don't know why, and that were dressed in a way that was very bland and very like a department store. Um, but Tatum wasn't. I felt like Tatum had interesting clothes.
Hmm.
Also her friend, and I forgot, was it Chloe? She was dressed interestingly.
Hmm.
But every scene that Tatum was in, everything was dressed like it would be at Dawson's Creek. But like it was from the time that, that we loved. But I just found like, her coffee shop was kind of bland. Even Sydney's room was bland. Like everything was very bland. Every time we saw Tatum,
They're white. What do you want?
I know. Every
What do
time
you
we
want
saw
from them? What
Tatum,
do you want?
I know, but I want a Scream movie. I want set dressings to not look like we're like here we're in a TV movie. Um, but I didn't find that Tatum's set dressings and when like where everything was the attention on her felt like a Hallmark movie. And that
Okay.
may be my point of view. Maybe she drew attention, or maybe um, he wanted to light those scenes or like to be scarier for
Hmm.
her. But I noticed that push and pull, or that contrast. I was like, why does everything look cheap except for when it's on Tatum? So that's why I got a feeling that she was the favorite character for production. I don't know. There was more care brought into the scenes that she was in.
Well, I mean, she's really the second lead. Like
Yeah.
it's, so that makes sense. I get that. Um, it's an interesting observation. So right now, I'm going to delve into one of the flaws of the film. Which is because what you just said immediately made me think of this. Admittedly, this flaw is something that I feel applies to all of the films after the second one, so it's not unique to this. But it's essentially that there start to be too many characters running around to give the, to the, for them to like for them to get enough characterization in there. But furthermore, the legacy survivor characters are running on a separate track from everyone else, and I think they're like their plot lines are like intertwined, but they're like like they're running like parallel until the end basically, instead of like all meshed together. And so as a result of that, it's an easy way for the writers to not really flesh the other characters out, because it's like they're all just here to get killed gruesomely anyway, so it's like don't care about them. And that's really not something that the first two films failed at, because all of the characters were developed enough as people that like you knew most of them were going to die, but you were hoping they wouldn't. Like you actually like saw them as like real people. You're like, they're not acting like like intentionally obnoxious, so that you like want to cheer to see them get killed off. And especially with this film, with the new cast, the legacy characters who are returning, like they all got great material, and like the rest of the cast, like all the new ones, were basically written like a Halloween sequel or a Friday the 13th movie. Like they were so bland, so like got like they like nothing, like absolutely nothing, even worse than usual. Actually, I thought six was pretty bad with that, but seven was even worse in this regard, because I couldn't even tell you one distinct characteristic of like any of the friends really. I did feel bad for one of them, because she put up such a fight to survive. Yeah, I'm not telling her. I'm not saying her name, but you can probably guess who I'm talking about. Because she put up such a fight to survive near the end of the film. And actually, I also felt bad for the girl in the opening too, because she also put up a real fight to survive. Like this was good. It was good to see characters like not just like quick like slasher movie kills, like protracted scenes where they're like sort of trying to survive. And I did sympathize with her in that moment, but um, they were all they had like no personalities at all, as opposed to the surviving characters who were given lots of personalities. So
I agree, but I disagree because this is the first young cast besides the first three
mhm.
that I liked. I mean, I liked the characters in the last one, but I didn't get, I don't, they killed, what is her name, Anka? Or,
Anika.
and I didn't get to know her. I liked her for the film, but she literally, I feel like, and I watched Scream 6 after I watched Scream 7, and that was like the biggest thing. Like, we moved through that movie at a fast pace. Now,
It is.
how do I sorry.
Oh,
I
she was back there for like 10 minutes.
really liked. I loved the neighbor's kid. And
Lucas.
yeah, and I know I hate that I don't know their names. I kept waiting for more, and this is where I think the movie made a huge. There's a lot of huge missteps, but they almost got this right, and I think it's lazy that they got this wrong. When all the kids were in the bar, I liked when the movie went there with Chad and
Hmm.
Mindy. I liked all of that. I liked all of that vibe. I was like, okay, we can move away. And I know that, and this is spoilery. When they were all locked in there, I was like, why are we just getting rid of everybody in this one scene? Like, we should make this should be the middle. Like, I did enjoy the scene with Sydney and her mom, but this should be the middle grandness, or we could have two. Um, why aren't we all fighting and having this elaborate chase scenes all through here instead of because like Mindy and Chad disappear really quick in that. I know that they are hurt, but I was like, wait, like I put attention back on this. I like these characters. Like, why are we doing this? Because they were. It was just we were just expanding those characters. They were talking and getting to know each other,
Hmm.
and then oh, okay, now it's time to get rid of them. I think that should have been drawn out. It should have been like, or had chase scenes throughout there, not just. That's where I think they just stopped caring and they were like, we're gonna get on where we want to go, instead of making new legacy characters, new. Because you didn't have to get rid of a lot of people. You could have had more people in the finale, like we usually do in the first two, especially. Um, Even in the
Ooh.
third one, you had a bunch of people in the finale. And it makes it more. I think it makes it more. First of all, you don't have to give up who the killer is that quick because you're like when you start killing everybody in the middle of the movie, you're like, I know who the killer is. Also, you said something that maybe I wanted to say, and I know I'm being sporadic right now. This movie is the first movie where I felt like we moved away because I don't. I may have said this, and I take it. It feels like Scream with the suspense, but this movie felt nothing like Scream and what Scream was. It felt like a Michael Myers movie with the way that you see Ghostface,
It
like
felt like a stab movie.
well, I guess so, but like you know how you would just see Michael Myers like the plastic brushing up against Ghostface, or you seeing him appearing out of the shadows like Michael Myers. I was like, we have entered now into Michael Myers category,
Yeah.
and I was like, and I was fine with it because I love Halloween, but I was like, this isn't. We're using tropes from like the standard Halloween movies, not like just the good ones, like the ones that were like, yeah, Ghostface, like we really bought into it, which I know that we've already done that because Ghostface is now becoming the face of the series instead of Sydney, even though Sydney's back. But I really felt like I was like, and somebody else said it like, oh, it feels like Halloween, and I'm okay with it because Scream is inspired by Halloween or from one of those movies. But we've entered that territory. Like and I know it's all the series enter their territories. It's like the definition of all these sequels. Like we enter the mindless movie territory. But I know that that wasn't the point of or wasn't supposed to be the point of this movie. But we
No,
went
because
there.
yeah, exactly. These because the Scream films, even though even though they are providing the requisite slasher thrills, they've always platform themselves as taking off from them and commenting on not only the nature and predictability of horror cliches in general, but trying to hold up a mirror to society in some way. And so, this, by the way, this isn't the first time that I felt like a Scream film has like borderline turned into one of the stab films that it's like making fun of. But I definitely feel like, especially with much of the action taking place with characters being stalked and murdered like on a main street in a town, like that did feel very Haddonfield, very Halloween to me,
I know. I was like, yeah, we're in
which
town.
is like right, which is not necessarily, it's not like other films can't do that and be good. And they were certainly, again, it's well staged enough that a lot of good tension was wrung out of the scenes
I
and
think we
with the
lost him for a
suspense as
second,
well.
but that's
But
okay. Well,
since you mentioned Chad and Mindy
hopefully he'll get
earlier,
back.
I'm going
But
to
I will,
circle back
yes,
to
like
them
the
now.
movie was well
Um,
staged.
those two are so much fun. And
And
Jasmine and Mason are
I don't
so
hate that it was like
charismatic
Halloween,
and
but
attractive and talented, and they have such great chemistry as siblings.
I
Um,
mean, I wanted, when you want
that
Scream.
you froze, I think. Did I lose you? All right. Maybe this will get back. I don't know what. Anyway,
Sorry.
so they're so much fun. I just wish that it wasn't a repeat of the previous films. What I moved on to after that was, since you brought up Chad and Mindy, I wanted to go back to that for a second because they are so much fun.
Hmm.
And Jasmine and Mason are so charismatic and attractive and talented, and they have such great chemistry with each other and banter that it helped mitigate the fact that their storyline made no sense to me. And I was, first of all, annoyed because their characters both seem too smart to put themselves in danger like this again. And but number two, because they're not really friends with Gail. They were friends with, like, Sam and Tara. So, like, why would they even be there? But they were, at least it's a way, I guess, of acknowledging that 5 and 6 were not just, like, anomalies or a separate timeline. Like, they're like, it's bringing them all in, right? It's bringing, like, both, bringing, like, both creators' worlds together. Fine. But I was also really frustrated that once again they were relegated to not comic relief exactly, because they do put up a fight and try to, like, help, solve the mystery, but they're essentially relegated to being, injured and then like left out of the finale. And
Hmm.
so they're like they're less proactive, and so they try but they don't quite make it all the way there yet. And it seems to be a formula with them. Six threatened to uh like break out of that by making Chad, like, more of a fighter and actually being able to almost get to the finale. But at the same time, they were basically, like, taken out, and yet for some reason, indescribably not finished off before, like, before going to the finale for some reason. So, like, it's like tugging on our heartstrings in a way that, like, we like them and we want them to live, but it's also just like, why are they why are they, A, still here putting themselves in danger again when they should know better, and B, why does Ghostface not just finish them off when you have a chance? And
Yeah, I think like cutting away and not knowing what's going on in that kitchen really makes that silly. Like if they would have gotten
yeah,
away, we should have seen that. And we do that in some of the other Scream films before the, continuation, where you see them mending each other up, saying we have to get. They could have been like, we
yeah,
could try to get to Tatum too. We know where she's at. You could have intertwined them so much better. Like I think all the legacy characters really should have been in the finale in some shape or form,
hmm,
because like they earned that if we're gonna put
yeah.
them in the movie, right? Um,
Gail wasn't there, yeah.
yeah, for another, like for the like she hasn't been in the finale what since like the third one. She's kind of in the fourth one in the second finale, but
She's in the fifth one too.
she gets shot though. Like it's like
So what? She and Sydney, take down Amber.
they do. I guess they do. It just like we're always like hindering Gail before the finale. And I
No,
don't.
but but she's there, but she's still there, even if she's injured. Like,
Mm,
she's there and does end up playing a crucial part, like, in most of them.
yeah. Um,
With this one though, she had a great entrance.
she did have a great. Everybody in this movie
Her entrance was fantastic.
like
Her,
it was very gimmicky or whatever. I don't even know if that's the right word, but it was needed. Like it was like I was glad that we called a Ghostface early in the movie too. I thought that was different.
It
Um,
was. And a lot of us have been talking about, like, are they going to do this in one of the films at some point? And they did it here, and I thought it was good. It's a good thing he actually was a real Ghostface, not a prankster. Because can you imagine if, like, that? If Can you imagine if that had happened? If she'd, like, run him over, thinking that
and
he had
like,
actually was an
well,
yeah. Can
play stupid games, get stupid prizes. Like I mean,
Exactly. Yep.
I know that's probably controversial to say, but mm-mm. But I will. I'm not pushing back. I know I'm probably gullible or I like can do headcanon. I don't agree. You're not the first person to say that I've talked to you about the Mindy and the. I don't dis. I didn't find it that far fetched that they're with Gail, right? Like they've been through this twice before.
Okay.
They like I and it maybe more so Chad. I could see him not, but I could just totally see Mindy and obviously we see it in this movie wanting to be a Gale, right? She loves all of this. She loves the attention. She loves to tell her theories and stuff. And where else do you go in the grown-up world? You can't behave like this. Like she's not in college, she's not in high school anymore. what do you do? Like, and she's gonna capitalize on her experience, like with Ghostface, and she's bad at it, and she admits that she's bad at it. Like, I thought she was so. Finally, she's written in a way that's not bizarre to what we've seen before, but tolerable. But I've always liked Mindy. I've never hated her. I thought she was strange and like aggressive, but I liked that she was different. I also just I watched not to I watched Zach's video review, and he said there wasn't really a commentary like the other ones, and I was like,
Who's
well,
Zach?
Zach.
Who's Zach?
I was not, but she says it at the bar, and I actually, that's why I was like, God, it's like they watch our show. She's like, it's based on nostalgia, and is it good? And I was like, wow, we get and it is basically the rest of these series is just based on nostalgia, especially this movie. This movie doesn't, when it tries to do nostalgia like on the nose too much, like the curfew scene.
It's annoying. It's annoying.
I'm like, stop it! It's not even you're just taking the exact scene.
No,
And you could have
it feels like a scene out of Scary Movie instead of Scream.
correct. Like I was like, and I really liked the way the town was set up. You didn't have to do the same lock scenes with you could have let Red Right Hand and have the cop patrolling, or you could have had Sydney locking up instead of these people who even look like the people in the original. Like I was like, this scene is lifted from the original. Like what, like frame for frame. I don't need that. We have every legacy sequel since the third one has been this. Like, stop it. Like, I want to be like, stop it. But I'm glad Mindy actually, not like somebody from the nostalgia sequels is saying it's about nostalgia. It made me kind of chuckle a little bit because I was like, yeah, like, I mean,
Yes,
like
fair
that
enough.
the meta part, like, I feel like I mean, it's not as big as the other ones, but it is kind of a commentary of what we're doing. This movie feels like it's made for just pure nostalgic reasons because, and it hits somebody from the old series that we didn't go along with that storyline because we fired the actress that
I was gonna say, yes, this
um
Scream 7 turned into something else because of that whole situation.
right,
So it was originally going to go in a different direction when Melissa Barrera and Jen was still attached. So
which
um,
I
mhm.
don't know if I'm happy about or not. But I will say this movie gives me something that the other ones kind of not. Six did not fail. I had a lot of fun with six, but five was not fun to me. It
Mm.
wasn't bad, and four was not fun at all to me. But six was fun, and this one was even more fun to watch. I would probably, out of all of them since three, would rewatch seven and just have it on because it felt like a movie about characters. That's why I don't totally agree with like they were cut short, but I enjoyed all the kids in this movie. I did not hate not one of them. Um,
I felt not one way or the other about any of them, frankly.
well, see, I hated the characters in four, and I even hated the legacy characters. Five,
Yeah, I
everybody
no,
stuck.
I hear that. I hear that.
With
I
this
think
one, I
yeah.
wanted to know these characters. I was like, can I have more, please?
Ben, the boyfriend, I think was written to be like kind of obnoxious. But I also felt that he just wasn't really interesting enough to like be annoyed by.
Right.
Um,
He was also written kind of like he was supposed to be weird, but they wanted him to be dreamy as well. It was very, very mixed. Like,
well, I mean, they cast a generically attractive actor to play him, so that makes sense. Um, I will also say that the two characters, the drama teacher and the other network executive, like those two adult guys, I was begging for them to get slaughtered on screen, and
you were like,
and
they were set up kind of to be a little bit
I
more in the
they were
movie.
so, I know they were so obnoxious, and then given the killer's mo, I figured, well, they would be like have targets on their back. Like the killer absolutely would have gone after them, considering the killer's personal history. Once we find out like who they are and why, um, so, and I guess I will have to, I really, really want to talk about this with you. But I'm trying to keep it as spoiler light as possible for people who haven't seen it yet.
The
Um,
people who haven't seen it aren't watching our show.
uh, that may be true, but at the same time,
Um,
spoilers. Okay, so I'm actually going to talk about the killer reveal now. So, spoilers if you want to not hear this part. Um, See you next time. For everyone else who wants to stay, please do. So the Ghostface killers in this film are, at least to me, the most random and arbitrary and underdeveloped of the entire franchise. Um, it turns out to be Sydney's next door neighbor, and
Clock.
yeah, and
The random insane asylum
the
person.
random insane asylum supervisor who she met while doing research. So a lot of them in there are talking about how much they love the motive and how much sense it makes. I've been reading a lot of what they say, and I'm starting to get it now. But the thing is, it's the climax is so rushed; it happens so fast, and her
It's the afterthought.
yeah, and her crazy monologue about like why she did it, where it turns out like okay, so her husband was abusive, and she took inspiration from Sydney killing her tormentors to take it upon herself to that her way to solve her problem was to kill her tormentors, so she murdered her abusive husband. Fine, but then what should have been a shocking moment, which is that basically either she or her, you know, co-conspirator murdered her son because he ended up being too much like her husband, was like given such a tossed off throwaway line. It should have been so shocking, and it should have landed harder, and it didn't to me. I just thought it was so ridiculous that I ended up laughing through the entire scene. And but a lot of the other people in that group are talking about how like, oh my god, no, it's like it's so deep and it makes so much sense. And then when you think about like how it's really, she's not a fan of the stab movies, she's a fan of Sydney and how she thinks she can possess Sydney. And okay, I feel like maybe they're trying to make a connection between the toxic fandom angle of Five, which was a lot more clearly laid out in a way that made sense and in a way that actually feels true, because I feel like that theme was immediately vindicated by the way that people online in real life um, talk about these movies and get angry and curse at you if you disagree with them. And quite frankly, also, I will say, once Melissa Barrera was fired, the then director of Seven, who was supposed to direct it originally, Christopher Landon, also got off the project because he was receiving death threats by toxic Melissa Barrera fans for staying attached to the project. So I'm not blaming Melissa Barrera at all for anything that happened. I don't even think she should have been fired, but that's the studio's choice. But she is in no way responsible for any of this. But her fans who were sending death threats to this guy, yeah, that is really scary and over the top. So yeah,
Are they her fans or are they? Because I think I've mentioned this in another one of our recordings. Melissa Barrera is not that famous to have that kind of fandom.
oh my god,
And that's not a dig. That's like she's not. I mean, it's the Scream fans that were a fan of that storyline. It's not because it's just not like she's not that kind of megastar. It's just that's not a dig. Like it's just like it is the toxic fandom that loves that storyline that's behaving this way.
mm,
Um, uh,
okay,
in my opinion, I
that's you know
guess.
no, that's fair. That's fair.
Um, But I agree with you on this because what I liked about it, it's not executed well at all. I think it's executed worse than Scream Six's because at least you had a big stage and it felt epic. The finale felt really epic.
Yes,
Scream Six and drawn out.
sure.
This is like,
Yes.
oh, we're dropping in real quick because we have to do this, but it is still a soap opera. Like it's
And
like
we have to wrap it up. We've got to wrap it
right.
up.
And you're like, but wait a minute, this is the whole point of the movie. But I was disappointed because they had her behave, even though Anna Camp can give a campy, crazy performance, and it was there, but it's like they cut
Hmm.
it short. Um,
Yeah, she wasn't on screen enough for it to like
well,
really land at all.
and
And
what
she
I'm mad about
was
the movie, oh sorry.
sorry, no, she was there a couple. I liked her, I liked her scene with Sydney in the coffee shop, and I like that Sydney is like just a regular small town like wife and mom and working woman with like running her own business while her husband is like the chief of police. Like that's fine. That's fine to me. I'm not surprised she ended up there in a situation like that. I'm only surprised that she thought that like moving from the small pretty town that she grew up in with with a bloody past, that somehow just by moving to another small town that she could somehow like regain anonymity, and like no, it doesn't work that way. because clearly everybody knows who she is anyway. So
Well, they played that up in the movie, but I was like, this is where it felt like a Hallmark movie. It's like, I'm Sydney and I own a coffee shop and
it
everyone knows who I am and everybody talks about me and it's like cool. Like I just don't feel like Sydney would do that. But
it's true. I know it's true. You're absolutely right. It does feel like, and
so
it looks like a
I was
Hallmark movie too, because it's in one of those like flat Midwestern towns, that like that's like so like I mean, like, at least in like the original Scream, like Woodsboro was filmed in like wine country in California, which is like noticeably, which is a very distinct, beautiful like hilly look. So like all yeah.
I just don't think Sydney, and maybe this is it. Like again, I made this comment in the movie, and it made me. I felt like a shitty person. She said, "I don't." Sydney said something like, "I don't want my kids to ever be like put through this." And I was like, "Well, then why did you have kids?" Like I wanted. I was like, "Why?" Because you have three of them, and you've had so many people obsessed with you, and she has every right to have these children. But I don't ever understand. Like that's in, and I said it before when we were talking about that. I just don't think the Sydney from one, two, and three would have children. Like I just don't think. But we're here, and I like the story of like you can't protect your children so much to the point where they don't know how to defend themselves. I very much like that because that's how what my parents did. Like they over sheltered me to the point where it was a struggle, and I had to make myself do certain things. Um, to like know how to, and I'm like very thankful that I know how to do all these things. But I don't like her written to the point where she's shocked this is happening. Which I don't think is totally in the movie, but it's like, girl, you're Sydney Prescott and you're not hiding, which I'm not saying she doesn't have to, but like your boyfriend, his mom, your mom stuff, your brother, your cousin,
Mm.
all these like this is the world that you live in. This is the world that the movie takes place in. So I like the balance that Sydney is a great character and he still writes her well, where she's not pulling the Jamie Lee Curtis one like from the newest movie where she's like so estranged from her daughter because she like I
I
like the
know. No, Sydney is a shockingly well-adjusted mom considering all the shit she's been through.
right. Um, I guess
You
what was the
have to
point?
wonder, like, if she does she stay up at night wondering if her daughter's going to turn into Ghostface?
Well,
um,
I thought that for a second because I was like, how is this movie going to end good? I was like, oh, is Tatum going to be Ghostface? Oh no, we're not doing that. But I knew whenever they wouldn't give Anna or they wouldn't give her Jessica, was that her name?
yeah.
And I hate to say hero shot. I don't know how to say it. Like and she had no more establishing shots. She was always to the side. She was always very tucked away after that
Mhm.
one scene at the coffee shop. And I was like, well, this is Anna Camp. She's a star of like Pitch Perfect. Like
Oh, they're holding on to her for later. Yeah.
and you're like, well, but that because I want to, and I talked about this afterwards that people looked at me like, oh, you're right. Also, why'd we ugly up Ethan Embry to have skin just like Stu? And we're like, oh, I was like, well, he's the killer because his skin looks just like Stu before the face thing. Like it would be flawless because he
Yeah.
looks. And I was like, Ethan Embry does not look like this, so why we put him in all this ugly makeup? He
Yeah, they
could.
did. They uglied him up. Yeah.
I was like, you could just make him look like Ethan Embry. And I was like, also, these people are, Ethan Embry is maybe not famous to a lot. Like, two people who aren't Scream fans, which I think that's what I think this movie is made for people who had seen Scream but are not super fans. And they
Hmm.
loved it. And that's who I went with. I went with people who love the original Scream. They don't rewatch them. They don't understand. They know nothing about Melissa Barrera and all that. They know nothing about any of that. They had a good time, right? Like they had a great time. They got to see some kills, which were all very inventive. I will say the theater scene was very. My nails are still chewed up from the theater scene of her flying through the air, and I was like,
Oh,
because I
wow.
because that's a famous actress in the horror world. I thought she would have a bigger part. I didn't think she'd have two scenes. I thought it would be bigger, and then I was like, no, no, okay. But I also knew that Anna Camp is kind of has that crazy thing, and you can say that I could have thought the same thing with Laurie Metcalf from in Scream 2,
Oh, of course.
but that's not true because TV stars didn't transition to movies like that. Like you're not
Not
just
like that.
yeah,
No.
you're not guaranteed a big part in a movie. You would just have the part that she had
Right.
and so that's normal. Um, and I know I'm jumping around, But I think the disappointment in that is that those were adults and they should be scarier, like you're talking about. Like you should have saved her son to be in the finale, and she killed him in front of Sydney. So we're all scared. Like
Yeah, that
I would have been
yes.
scared for like, oh, she's gonna kill Tatum. Oh, she could kill
Yeah,
Sydney.
you're right. That would have made, and actually you're right. I hadn't thought about that. That would have made a much bigger impact.
And we would have stayed there and lingered. Like, oh, this woman's really. And I don't know how I felt about in hindsight about her saying I checked myself into the mental institution and how easy it was for them just to barge in there and like get information because we have
No.
a behavioral health unit at my hospital and I live next to one and you can't even go in like you can't like so I'm like um but you could just spend belief. I
Yeah.
always do. I'm fine with that. But I was like I don't know like I it was just I really wish she would have mentioned that she was a fan of Sydney's book. Like she goes, I read your book and it really helped me. Like those little hints would have been
Hmm.
nice. And because it makes sense. They did try because her son is a big fan of Sydney.
Yep.
And he had to get that from somewhere. And I was like, so I kind of guessed it early. I was like, these two. And I liked that they were adults. But it would have been nice. And I didn't really understand why, even though it was fan service and like people to get people from the first one that only seen the first one.
Okay.
The AI stuff looked really cheap and I didn't really get why we needed it in the long run. It was fun. It was so much fun. I don't hate it, but I didn't understand why we needed it.
Okay. Oh, are we talking about? Sorry, I just got a text that. Were you just talking about the AI?
Yeah, I thought it looked really cheap, like when they were in the finale, and then I
Oh,
didn't really understand after watching the movie why we needed it.
well, interestingly enough, I was also going to say I think the anti-AI stance that the film
Oh yeah,
seems to be taking is a good one,
hmm
and a necessary one. But I thought it was I thought it was a little underdeveloped.
yeah. Like we didn't really. It wasn't that crucial
Yep.
to the plot, except for the one of the killers loves it. Like right, like
Yeah, it was. Yeah, and it's yes. So I agree with
I don't
you, and
remember why was he doing it? I don't remember now. Like why did he get
well,
involved?
exactly, exactly. It doesn't exactly. It
Because
was not.
she was like move like I'm big red like that's what I felt like from
Yes,
um and then we're like and then Sydney shoots him and I'm like but why
exactly.
um
Exactly. So like these two characters were so peripheral, and
it was cheating
especially
too that's lazy writing like
yeah. And I feel it's funny. I feel like even with the finale was like it happened so quickly, and I got the sense that casting Anna Camp in there and then like not giving her that much to do. I mean, again, it's kind of like again, like you mentioned, it feels similar to what they did with Laurie Metcalf and two. Um, except in that case um her accomplice like was one of the kids, and so there was a connection between like the two storylines between the adults and the kids, and here
mhm.
there just wasn't, so it ended up being just like two peripheral characters who were barely in the film showing up at the end after and it's just like, oh well, okay, I mean, y'all
Also
are still here and there was no, I guess there was nobody else. I mean, I was like, what if they just like pulled out like, ooh, it was like the network executive, or ooh, it was the drama teacher. Like it would have just at that point it just became so arbitrary and random. But I guess it made sense that it was the insane asylum guy because he had access to like all that information, um, and helped plant doubts in Sydney's head about Stu really being dead. But it was
that was
so
so dumb though like it's
it
been
was. It
proven
was really dumb,
like
and like I'm listening to all these people trying to sell on how brilliant the motive is because Jessica was some sort of unhinged. Um,
she read a book
yeah, she read a book and how she took that to be her personal mantra to like kill anyone she deemed to be abusing her. I mean, trying to think about how that could like yes, she's crazy, and if you want to go along with that, sure. But again, it was so rushed and like so it just it seemed like there was like no conviction behind it, though. Not to say that there wasn't fun in the finale anyway. I did enjoy the climactic fight between the two of them, and I did
yeah
really
the cat
like
and mouse was fun like I
the
was like
cat and mouse was
more
fun.
yeah
And then when she's hiding in the shadows going Sydney, and Sydney goes, oh please.
I don't like that version of Sydney though like the whole like I like when she said when she couldn't do it or was past her prime. I liked that when she said "fuck you" and like.
Mhm.
But like whenever you resorting to comedy when I was supposed to feel tension, I was like one or the other.
I thought that was believable personally, but
Yeah, I
I
didn't
did.
love that. But I did like how she was hiding. Like I felt like there could have been more that like if we would have had the scene where she killed her son in front of them and you would have had her hiding in that plastic, I think that would have been a grander finale.
Yeah, it would have been
Or
a lot
if we
deeper.
would
It
have
would have.
found that like she was just using the guy from the saying like that's a bland and been done before and they were in a relationship, but you know, like or maybe like I don't even mind if she would have went to fuck like this is how I would have been like I was like what if this is like my brain goes crazy. I was like what if this bitch is and this probably sounds like I'm stupid and it may be undercooked because I'm not talented in that way. I was like what if it is Sydney? What if it is we're playing off the thing, so I'm gonna get there. What if it's Sam and Tara's mom with but she because she talked about Pilates and like she's changed her look and stuff and she's like I'm burning all this fucking shit down because it's all about you. I hate this past. It's ruined my life. I have Billy Loomis's offspring. I'm getting rid of all the original shit. I don't give a fuck and I'm getting rid of you too because you're the source now. Um, I was like, what if we're going that insane to like tie them all together? And we didn't. Like I was like, oh. But that would have been crazy. I mean, people would have been mad because Sam and Tara wouldn't have been in it and it would have been their mom anyway.
I
But
know it was weird. I feel like they were relying on the casting to make it work.
and they
Um,
and they did their best. Like I felt like it almost worked because the casting was very good. Like I was entertained. I was highly entertained.
Sure. I suppose maybe if yeah, maybe I guess, but I know that I'm sure that like if you like love the Pitch Perfect films, that Anna Camp's casting and her performance will probably like do more for you.
Yeah. And then
Um,
so,
yeah, so yeah, it's just unfortunate because it's kind of it was a little bit of is it a stunt casting? I don't know if I would call it stunt casting, but yeah, just like but I think they did that anyway with like a lot of the adult roles. Like will cast people that you actually recognize from like
yeah.
other to and it helps because it actually does kind of throw suspicion on them too. Except this was unfortunately one of those instances, and again, it's a problem of like having too many people running around where they're not developed enough to like be more suspicious. I feel like they did do that with the drama teacher by making him extremely obnoxious towards Tatum in the beginning, and I felt like what a waste that they didn't like they could have made him the accomplice. That would have I feel like that would have been more fun
It could have, but you
because they
have
just left him there after the one scene
one of them though. Like the thing is that
because he's always good at playing a dick. But
you
anyway,
can't
sorry.
have two that are so deranged. Like I find that didn't work for six. Like everybody was so deranged. I don't
Yeah.
find Mickey was very deranged in the second one, right? But I didn't find even though she was and she gets this grant. Like I didn't find Miss Loomis. I understood why she was doing it, right?
Yeah, she's very
Under,
sane.
um, I
She's
understood why Roman did it because it even though I don't agree, they're all something's not right, obviously, because you're doing all this crazy elaborate stuff. But I understood how these situations can drive somebody in the heightened movie form, not in real life,
mm-hmm.
do what they do. I even understand Jill. Like I even understand in five, even though that's
Mm-hmm.
a like I was like that's a lot like for you to be fans of me. But I mean that's a throwback to the original in a new way. Like toxic fan. Like I kind of and I respect that even more now. Like talking about it. Six is just a rehash of two. It should have been thought about better, but I still kind of
Mm-hmm.
understand. But it's two. I don't find even third like in five there's one that's level-headed crazy or one that's level-headed
Right.
and one that's not. And in four there's one that and I get that a lot better. There's one that's just obsessed with this girl and going along with it, which you see
Yep.
that in actual documentaries, like somebody's just so in love or infatuated with
Yeah,
somebody.
they'll do anything for them. Yeah, they're like, yep.
But in this one, I was like, I don't. This man's just here. Even though if he was playing the character Stu, right, which I think we should have had more of a correlation, even though it's there. But I don't know why he's behaving that way. Is he a fan of all the stab movies?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's so underdeveloped. Now even talking about it out loud, like I didn't think about it as much because I had a good time. and you just don't get the answers, but you're just like, he even looked like it whenever he was listening to her talk, like, or before, like why am I here? Like, it's like, um, but to be fair, and Anna Kendra's reasoning is very loose, and
Camp and a camp.
Anna Kendrick, sorry, Anna can't, or Jessica's motive is very held on by a string, and it's a lot of work. Sometimes whenever you have to work so hard to explain it, like she was, I was like, that's a lot of work just to want to ruin Sydney's daughter and have a new Sydney. Like, that's a lot of work. It's easier to believe that you just want to kill Sydney because you felt betrayed that she disappeared, and you want to be like, you were fake, and so I'm going to get rid of all this. But it still doesn't tie, and I know we've already mentioned this, why she wants to burn down the original house and get rid of, like, why is she killing all these kids? Like, I know it's Tatum's friends and she wants to create the new Sydney, so I guess you got to. But you could just kill her mom. Like, that's what created Sydney
But
anyway.
she really thought that would work. She's like, I'm gonna kill you and raise your daughter as my own. Like, again, she's crazy. But
If her
that's
daughter
the
was
kind.
younger, like, go after the younger ones then. I don't
Yeah,
know.
but
Like,
also that's the kind of thing where you can't reveal that, because once you do, it's just not going to work. The daughter's not Tatum's not going to go along with that. She's not going to be like, sure, you can be my mom now. Like, it doesn't work. Like, it doesn't work like that. You
well,
have to
that's,
stage
yeah.
it. You have to stage it. You have to like, you would have to kill the murders you would have to commit the murders in costume, and then be like that loving, supportive, like, pretend to be the loving, supportive neighbor, and then take the kids in after like getting away with the murders. You can't just like be like, oh,
She could
I'm
reveal it to
going.
Sydney and not her daughter. That would have been interesting too. Like, to have her daughter somewhere else, or have, and then,
Mm,
reveal that to Sydney. I could see.
mm. I'm starting to suspect that Sydney's younger kids like live with their grandparents full time, just so they don't have to like deal with shit like this.
I thought that, I was like, oh, this movie's gonna take place in 24 hours because the kids are coming. You know what I mean? Like, we have. I was
Yeah.
like, so that makes. I like that. I did like that. I like that it wasn't drawn out. It was like, because we didn't have enough time. But this is another thing where I got confused whenever they were asking Sydney, like, why are you staying and investigating this? And she goes, it's what I do. And I was like, Sydney doesn't investigate this shit.
No,
That's
she
always
doesn't.
that's always
That's
Gail or
Gail. That's
Dewey.
what Gail does.
Sydney goes and hides. Like, I mean, not on purpose. Like, it's just
Yeah.
about, like, you have to. So
Hmm.
I'm like, huh? Like that, and I
Exactly.
know that's a little thing, but I was like, wait a minute, Kevin. Like, no, this is not a Sydney thing. Now, the interview thing would be very Sydney to draw him out. She would do shit like that, but I was like, what? That line is not. That's a Gail line.
No. Correct.
I did love Gail in this movie. I love the ruthlessness was back. I love that she wanted to get the interview, and I love that scene where Sydney's like, "What if I would have brought Dewey up?" And she's like, "I would have said I'm fine because that's what I have to tell myself." And I would have been like, Gail would not have. And I know it was. I'm not. This is not a flaw. You could have asked Gail about Dewey in the interview, and she would have answered because it's Gail. Like, she will do
Right.
whatever. Like,
Yes.
I want to say that I think that this is the most Gail looking that Courtney Cox has looked in a long time. Not about looks, but just the way she was framed, the way that she behaved, the way that she looked on screen. I think
Yep.
I really enjoyed it, and I really do. I really like the idea of Gail passing the torch to Mindy, even though it's comedic. Like, I loved that whole. Like, I would watch a spin-off movie series with Gail and them two, like an Insidious, like how they did with Insidious. I would watch that. Like, I would be like chasing Ghostface, like with.
Yeah. Chad, like, I can't hold a camera right now.
I was highly entertained, and I was like, if we go in this direction, if you gave them like their own movie without Sydney, because this is, and to tie up my end with this movie, like, I think the kills were great. I think the suspense was great. I think
Hmm.
we moved in a direction where but I've been cool with this. Like, I'm not, that's why I think I liked the movie so much. Because I liked Six. I liked Six a lot. I'm okay with the Scream series moving into a cheaper era, like an era of a shell of itself, because I felt like we started that in four to the point where we went high camp, we don't care about the who did it kind of feel, and we don't care about it feeling like Scream. And I know a lot of people don't agree with me on that with four, but I feel like I was so disappointed in four that my bar is low, and if I just have a good time, that's fine.
Okay.
Um, Now, that being said, like, I think it's time to hang up the Sydney because it's only some like you see how the storyline went, like the reasoning for trying to kill Sydney is really silly, and it's like it's always going to be someone's obsessed. I mean,
Hmm.
and I'd rather not just keep doing that.
Yeah.
So I would love to go in a direction where maybe Gail gets herself into like a Ghostface situation with the twins, and like because they're somewhere they're not supposed to be, and somebody's like, "Well, hold up, I could get
Yeah,
down with."
make them the heroes now. Make
Yeah,
these
like
things the heroes now.
I think that would be great. Like I think that'd be a great movie.
Yeah.
It would definitely be a scary Scooby Doo, but
Yes. Honestly, I feel like most of the Scream sequels are scary Scooby Doo movies. So or the series has run its course, and we have to appreciate it for what it is and move on with our lives. Um, you know,
this is a three's a better finale.
I knew that wouldn't land well. I'm like, what?
But I like the last scene where she talks to her daughter about Tatum, and so I think that that's a great. You can end it that way,
Hmm.
and have a legacy sequel way down the line that has nothing to do with Sydney. Like it's just a Ghostface sequel, um, and that's fine with me because I find that the true series ended with three, um, and I'm
Right.
cool with that. Like I'm cool.
Okay. I guess that kind of yeah. I suppose so. I personally did not think three was a wholly satisfying resolution, but um, that being said, um, and I feel actually, I think a lot of people felt that way when it first came out, and I think that now in hindsight, it's gotten kind of a renaissance, and I think a lot of fans do think that three was like a satisfying resolution to the story. Um, but that being said, um, I'm glad that they've tried to push this franchise in different directions and use the genre to make some very interesting statements about society at large. And even though I know you strongly dislike four, and I think a lot of four is a missed opportunity. I do appreciate that they really went after influencer culture. I love that they um, I love that it tackled that because that's so prevalent now. It's so prevalent now, and I love it they did that. So, in any way, oh
Oh,
sorry,
I
go
love
ahead.
the story of four. I think it's very similar to this movie. Even though, but I can appreciate this movie because we've already went there where it's I don't know how to say it. The heart is not in these movies. Like
All right.
they're just movies like that the studio made, and you
Yeah,
hindsight is 2020. The first three, Wes and Kevin, or Wes, the guy that wrote the third,
Aaron Kruger.
um, those movies were loved. And I'm not saying four does feel like it's loved, but it feels like somebody messed with it wrong, and that is exactly
Yeah.
true. Um, five and six were made because the studio wanted money.
Hmm.
And if you're gonna do that, give me a carnival ride, which six did. I
Fair
feel like
enough.
no apologies, and it's Scream on steroids. And you gave me the chase scenes I want, but that I
Fair
got from.
enough.
And so, how do you feel? Like I don't. This movie had a chase scene. I really did. The trailer did not do that wall scene justice because I enjoyed that.
Yeah, no, that was really well done.
Because I want to give the movie credit. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the bar scene. I enjoyed a lot of things. I don't, and I would have gave this movie a lot more flowers in this if it was not filmed. I guess like Zach says, or like I said, filmed like looks like a very Netflix TV. Like I don't understand why it
Who's
looks like a
Zach?
TV movie. Who did I say?
I said, who's Zach?
Uh, um, because I was like, it wasn't that it was apparent in the trailer, but the trailer gave it that kind of orangey look. When I was
Yeah.
watching it there, I was like, why does this? But again, it wasn't consistent. Some of the scenes with it was just Tatum, I felt like were lit in a bit more cinematic way, which I guess is that maybe a theme that he was trying to do to pass the torch to Tatum. But it's really hard to give Tatum the series because her mom's always going to be there, right? Like you can't really do
Hmm.
that. You can't.
Yes.
So I thought that that's an interesting concept that you're doing that, and but again, um I had a good time. So I don't know how to
I
explain.
did too.
I had a good time. I'm older now, so I let things like if I was to see Scream 4 for the first time today, I think I would like it a lot more. But I was really young and I grew up with these three. So I was more offended by the movie. And I remember because when I still rewatch 4, I can quote 4. And I know I'm a broken record, I say that. But I do highly remember all my theater. When I see a movie in theaters, I remember how I felt in theaters. And I had the best time seeing this movie in theaters. So that's all I can really say. Like I don't think it was made very well, but I think that Nev Campbell and Kevin Williamson wanted to make a good movie,
Hmm.
and
I think,
maybe
and I think they did an okay job.
yeah, like I think that the only missing ingredient is Wes, and we don't. I think that's one thing like you don't.
Yeah.
We do understand, but you have so there's somebody that had it was lightning in a bottle,
Yes.
and they were there at the right time for 3 movies, and
Yes.
you just can't recreate that.
That's true. Hmm.
And I'm okay with that. So I need to see it again.
Hmm.
But I didn't hate any. I didn't hate anything. Like I was like I knew the
Yeah.
finale was not going to be with the old one. It's not the '90s anymore, right? We don't film on film anymore. It's not going to feel like that. If you try to plug into that old soap opera feel without the right person handling it director wise, and
Hmm.
it's gonna feel like it felt like the first one could have probably the first two could have probably felt like this one felt in the wrong if you had a wrong director.
Yeah, that's true.
So
So yeah, I'm
I
glad they did what they
I think
did.
it's probably the most fun I've had seeing a Scream film for the first time since the third one, and I with the six like because I don't want to. People always hate on 6. I still have a great time with 6. Um,
And I get why.
Yes, and I think what saves the finale of this one is I love that Sydney went back and had that conversation with her daughter. I think
Yeah.
that's what I talked about it on the way home with my good friend Miss Sunshine. I said that saves the movie because the movie obviously tells us that the reveal is not the main part of the movie, which is a letdown to people like us, but it was a mother-daughter movie,
Yeah.
right? Like
Hmm.
and it succeeded in that. And I really the scene. The only thing I was mad. I was like, Sydney, keep fucking running. Like you're saying you can't make it in time. You just standing there on that phone. Go talk and run, bitch. Like,
Hmm.
but I mean, she didn't want to probably be out of breath, and she wanted to be able to talk to her daughter. Um, that was a highly intense scene and well done. So,
Yeah, it was.
but I didn't really have a doubt that Kevin Williamson would make a decent movie. He made a decent movie. I like
Yeah.
Teaching Mrs. Tingle. I didn't think that he would make a bad movie.
There you
Um,
go.
but I wanted more atmosphere. That's what this movie's
I
missing.
agree.
Its own atmosphere. It just felt like a movie, great suspense. It felt like a typical horror movie, which I never want Scream to be. Um,
Right.
but that's okay. I had a good time.
I did too. I did too overall, and I liked a lot of what you said. I think this is a good place to stop because
Yes.
I think we covered it well, and also I'm getting hungry. So I think that
Yeah, and we got to go listen to somebody else talk about it.
yes, we are. We
I
are.
can't wait to hear somebody rip at the show because this is how I feel about people, and I know they can't help it. They love Scream so much, like I do, but
Hmm.
I've been able to separate myself since 4 and be like, I want to have a good time with this. I used to have a
Okay.
good time with this, but that just means you love it, right? You
Yes, it
want,
does.
and so, but thank y'all for listening.
Thank you all so much. Good to be
And
back.
yes, and please comment on what you liked about Scream 7, what you want.
Yes.
'Cause it's making tons of money. There's going to be a Scream 8. I don't know what they're going to do with it.
And
Cuz I
like
don't
and subscribe.
I don't see Sydney, I don't see Nev Campbell coming back, but maybe.
We'll see.
All right,
We'll
bye
see.
guys.
Good night.